It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
And welcome back to another edition of the Redirect Podcast. It is Friday, June 23rd, and this is episode number 6. I am Jason, and joined by other Black Truck Media Marketing team members, Patrick and Ashley. And we're going to jump right in and start talking about some industry trends, actionable items, and I guess things that we're just geeking out about this week. So I wanted to kind of start off and pick up where we left off in the last episode, in episode 5. We didn't get to it. We kind of ran out of time. And this idea stemmed from an article that I had been reading on Search Engine Watch, actually, from, I believe it was Andy Favel. I might have slaughtered his last name, but really it's optimizing images for mobile. So how are we implementing light and responsive, correctly formatted images for mobile responsive sites? I think that's one of the biggest issues that we get into outside of just general SEO. And a lot of times people still don't take into account the usability and the actual interactions. So UX, UI, performance of a site really comes down to like page load times, speeds, and things like that. And the stat that Andy mentions in here, I think, is really, really powerful. That 68% of a total page weight can typically be accounted for because of images. Oh. So that's really, really big. And we've seen it before in doing technical SEO audits when we're going to that level and we're showing, hey, these are the areas that you need to improve from a technical site performance perspective. It's good to remind people that when we talk about image sizes, that it's not like the dimensions of the image, it's the file size. The file size needs to be compressed. And even with Retina display, like on a MacBook Pro and 4K and things like that, this is still a digital device. Your eyes can only see so much. You don't have to have, Patrick, you've got a photography background. I mean, you don't have what do I say, like 300 DPI. I don't even know what that equates to in dimensions and pixels, but
yeah, your screen is not going to do any better than 72 dots per inch.
Right.
So it's all when it comes down to it at the end of the day, you don't have to do anything bigger than 72 dots per inch for a digital landscape. Mm-hmm. Print-wise, different story. As far as mentioning the background of the photography stuff, but as long as the dimensions are appropriate for the way it's supposed to be displayed, there's dimensions and then there's dots per inch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dots per inch have to line up with the allowable space on your dimensions. You've seen the left-right scrolls sometimes on a web page that loads up like, whoa, that image is big. Mm-hmm. A website will, depending on the site, will render the image appropriately. If you put a 300 DPI image on a template that's supposed to be 72, and it will compensate by putting the appropriate Northwest XY on
right.
there. And the next thing you know, Grandma's face is gigantic on the screen when you didn't mean to do that.
Well, it's definitely a give and take, right? I mean, with the increase in mobile activities, search aside, just mobile actions on a site, it's the trade-off is between quality of the image and the page size and the real estate that you're working with, and also what does that do for server load times with the page speeds.
Right.
You don't want to slow that down because you don't even have to count or mention the studies that have been done to show, if a page doesn't load, as a user, I'm out the door.
Like 3 seconds, right?
Yeah. I think 3 seconds is a lifetime in some situations. For I always say sit there in silence for 3 seconds. That's a really long time to have a pause. So you're not going to wait for that, especially if you're on your phone.
Yeah, definitely.
I know that a lot of the easy suggestions that will come up, Andy touches on a lot of them, but using things like TinyPNG or checking out resources on GitHub for compression tools. Sometimes it also comes down to once you get through your image optimization for sizes is compression and minifying CSS and JavaScript calls. Really trying to get the formatting in line to make sure that it's formatted properly for screen sizes and load times. But
yeah, one of the things when every time I do a technical audit of the site, it
seems like that comes up a lot.
It comes up a lot.
Yeah.
I just completed one today, and I expected it to be really bad, but it turns out I only there was room to decrease it by about 1/8 and still maintain integrity of the images. And then last week I did one, and it said I could take it up to almost 90% decrease in image file size and still maintain the integrity of the images.
I think it would be. Don't you think it'd behoove certain CMSs like Squarespace? Let's use Squarespace for instance, because WordPress, while we would love to see that happen in a WordPress environment, it would be difficult because of themes and backends and things get changed. But wouldn't it be neat in Squarespace, and for individuals who are Squarespace users, maybe set the record straight, but I mean, how easy would it be, the developers of Squarespace, to state your image file size, so not dimensionally, but your image file size should be no larger than, like we do in AdWords, right? It should be no larger than 150 kilobytes.
Yeah.
That's separate from size.
Yeah. It's separate from size, and it doesn't quite... So if I have an image that's 150 pixels by 150 pixels, the kilobyte size will be different if it's all black text versus all white text.
Oh, that's a really great point.
Yeah, because it depends on the data. Like, is it building data over white? Because white can just be a clear pixel. Where a black pixel, you have to have data to create that black pixel. So it depends on the pixel conglomeration inside the image as well.
Interesting.
Good stuff.
That's why not all 150 by 150 pixel images are going to fall within your, for example, the AdWords file size for display. You might have the exact same image or image dimension, but completely different file size.
I definitely think, if there's any question, people should just, the easy check is to run it through, Google's through the developer toolkit. Drop a site link in there, run it through, see what it kicks back, follow some of these suggestions there. And I don't want to say they make it easy, because if you're not a developer, some of those things I could understand might be a little bit of a hurdle. But try it out on a few pages. Maybe start on a couple of your internal pages, and test and see what you can do to get that image size down, or to make little tweaks and changes. And that's the route that I would take if you were unsure of it, as a site owner.
Even if you're unsure, or maybe a little green, all it can do is make you smarter. Learn about it. Plug it in, play with it, see what it does.
And if you're in a CMS, really, if you break it, there's generally a way to back out of it.
Right.
So.
Right.
Anyways, I wanted to pick up where we left off. So.
Yeah.
Great.
Either of you?
Okay. All right. So, as the resident content queen, which is...
Do you call yourself a queen?
Nope. Nope. Don't call me that.
I can't believe you bejeweled your office chair.
I have an article here to share from Neil Patel from QuickSprout. How to make yourself write an entire blog article every single day. Yeah, tall order.
Wow.
He did make it seem like it is doable, but I think you need to have a lot of time on your hands, which can be difficult. But he did have some really great points. The first one was read more than you write, which brought me back to my days as a writing major at Grand Valley, because my professors were always saying good writers read. So the key to writing is reading, he says. However, most blog articles are shared without even being read, especially on social media. And usually it's a quick scan. So it's like, it almost seems like not an oxymoron, a contradiction.
Right.
Because we're always saying good writing matters, of course, but people might not be reading it. But where SEO comes in for this is sometimes a headline and a snippet are enough to satisfy a reader, which is why these elements are so important for SEO purposes.
The HuffPo approach to writing content.
I mean, So it is important, and I just thought it was interesting that in the same breath as he said it's important to read, he's also saying people don't read. But obviously we know that blog posts are important.
So what I find fascinating about that is that 9 times out of 10, the message of write every day comes from, and I have a lot of respect for individuals like Neil Patel and Larry Kim, former founder of WordStream. I want to say that the individuals like that typically have the luxury and life hackers and individuals that want to talk about scheduling your day and stuff be damned. But typically those individuals have more time in their day if they're not assigned to a particular project or something like that. And that's not to say that you can't get there. Like, could I come in and sit down and bang out a piece of content every single day? Absolutely. And the more you do it, the faster you get and the better it becomes. But I also think it's very interesting that a lot of those articles come from individuals who maybe might be in that position where they can't do that every day. So then how do we then come at it from the approach of, hey, marketing professional, you should be writing content every single day? Never mind, you have a job to do, but generating content's a part of your job, and you should really do that and be a thought leader. And we can talk about all these buzzwords, but I'm going to ask you also to not do these other tactical things that you need to do to actually maybe get paid to do your job.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
It's a fine line in there, and it's a matter of scheduling the time in,
scheduling the time in, content calendar, and then Neil. One of his other points is to solicit pitches from others. So, not taking on the whole load for yourself, asking other people to contribute, and then that can lead to further distribution and traffic to your website because they're going to share it with their networks as well. And we talk about with content, answering people's questions with your blog posts, seeing what kind of questions people are asking out there, responding to them, whether it's something they're asking you on your website or your social media or something that you go out in the industry somewhere on the internet, find the kinds of questions that you can answer. And then, again, going back to scheduling and making it a habit with the help of a content calendar. So I know for me personally, I think it's a really tall order to be knocking out a blog post every day, but I like the spirit, and I think there's some great points there.
that's good. It's real good.
I touched back on an article popped out on me that was near and dear to my heart. Not really, but link building. I cut my teeth in this industry as a full-time link builder. And
Pre-Panda Penguin days.
Yeah.
Let's throw that out there.
Yeah, before we really knew what was going on. So the article is pretty interesting. It came from Search Engine Land. It was published on the 20th. Julie Joyce. She, I believe, is a guest blogger here, and she runs her own digital outreach marketing company. Linkfish is the name of her company. But it was an interesting article, and it was kind of backing up what a lot of people are saying is that it was interesting coming from an industry pro who specializes in just link building, saying our job is tough. That is actually the first line of the article. Our job is tough. And it's something that I've always said kind of out loud on the sidelines that you can't just go out and build links like you used to. In the beginning, when I learned this, it was you go after the low-hanging fruit, and then you go after the long jobs, the long cons, and it's all the long job now. There's no more low-hanging fruit. You've got to do the long process.
Well, and even the long process isn't. We know it's not scalable, right? You can go out and get those wins, and that's great, and maybe that's a good foundation. But what's next?
Yeah, she did some research about the length of time to get a link. I think she said here that on average amount of work with her team, it was. She used to be able to get it around 4 hours. It took her 4 hours of the team to get a link, and sometimes it might be 15 minutes. And then skimmed the article, so forgive me. I read it 4 days ago. It got longer and longer to get one link, and then the trouble she ran into is that a lot of times the link is in another piece of content on another site somewhere. And one of the strategies out there, not necessarily black hat, but just more aggressive.
Gray? Gray hat?
more of an aggressive hat is.
Aggressive hat.
Yeah, let's say I work really hard for a couple of months and develop this relationship and finally get my link lit up in an article over there in a competitive industry. And then another SEO at another company gets another client in that industry and they start doing some outreach and they discover that link and they reach out to that webmaster and they can swap out links. Like, hey, we'll throw you a bone for something. And it's, I might win that link, but in 3 months I'll go back and double check that link and find that it's been swapped out for another company that's in the same industry. And so that's been the next level of the game. That's where maybe a little under the radar kind of stuff is going on.
That's interesting, because would you say too, if we look at all the discussion around and the time that it could actually take to do on-page optimization to secure a featured snippet, position 0, and granted, we have to make a lot of assumptions within that. We already have a page that's ranking on the first page. There's a lot of factors that go into it. That's going to be a big one. I would be curious to know the benefit, the payoff of someone like that and her experience of the 4 hours spent there versus the time spent making page modifications to get position 0 and to take that away from a competitor. To see the benefit there.
It's that whole, what we just discussed a minute ago. It's like, okay, can I write a blog article a day? But what about the rest of my job?
Yeah.
It's like I can spend 8 hours trying to get one link, but what about the rest of my job?
I think it goes back to it's rising tides, right? I mean, you really SEO, SEM, paid search, your other traditional advertisings, social media, content marketing, email marketing. Really, you should be doing all of it, right? And understanding that, yes, budget allocations and things can't provide for all things, but at the same time, like, if you're doing all of them at some level, you should be, and you're doing them well, you should be seeing some success out of that, right?
Definitely.
I mean,
it's all in the upward tick list, it's moving its way up, and it's not like I'm showing up at 8 a.m. starting on that one link, and when I go home at 5 o'clock, I scored one link.
It's very true.
It's a long process. That 8 hours to get to one link may have taken a month and a half.
And that's a very difficult thing. I know you and I have had discussions about it before, Patrick, and it's a lot of, those are the difficult discussions to have. So industry, if we're talking industry side, those are difficult discussions to have with your client or with your boss on what did you do in terms of justifying your time.
Right.
It's like, I spent an entire day working on link building objectives and nothing came out of it.
Right.
Or I have 3 prospects out of this whole thing and one of them might hit. Or, that's a really difficult thing to then go and sell, especially if you're doing it on the up and up.
Yeah. And then even on the flip side of that, to bolster that notion, it's I put in that 7 hours and 59 minutes, and in the 8th hour it died. I didn't get the link. So I put in all that work, and then I finally hit that last roadblock, which was an official no.
Yeah.
So then after my 8 hours of work, what do I have to show?
And isn't that true too? Like, if you can take, for instance, like the overarching thinking here, at least in my mind, is that's why SEO is not free.
Right.
Or that's why paid search is not free. And that's why social media and community management is not free. There's a lot of people that say, oh, it's free. Well, we can just do that. Well, I'm paying someone, I'm allocating resources to that time to manage our community and to do it properly and to generate content. It takes a considerable amount of time.
Right.
No different than answering the phone or making sales calls or something like that. That takes a considerable amount of time, as does link building and content generation and ongoing SEO strategies.
Right.
So that's really good. We'll make sure we link to that. I think that'll be a good read.
Yeah.
Before we jump into, I think, a really good discussion, because I think I already know where Ashley's going to go. So another Search Engine Land article, I caught this one just yesterday, and It's from Aleda Solis, the 5 must-do technical SEO audit items in 2017. And if you've been in the SEO space for a while, you know who Aleda is. Really fantastic individual. She's really smart on technical SEO. So just wanted to run through these real quick because I think these are really key here. So the top 5 are mobile web crawling, JavaScript crawler behavior, so content rendering, how's content rendered, structured data usage and optimization, AMP configuration, so accelerated mobile pages, and then the 5th one is HTTPS configuration, so the secure configuration I think is really important. The mobile side, I don't even know why we are even having a discussion around that. Like, I think that's a yes. Like, that's a big check mark. If you are not taking mobile into consideration when you are optimizing a site, developing a site, you're missing the boat completely. The content rendering side, I need to read more into this. I know that there's been a lot of tests done by Will Critchlow and the team at Distilled have done a lot on that. They have a lot of different discussions on JavaScript and how's content being rendered by search. Like, what can they get through? What can they see? What can't they? The structured data usage. So we're talking about, structured data, schema markup language, things of that nature. All of those items that, we haven't had 10 blue links for a long time. And we have images and we have videos and we have local packs and how do we provide Google or Bing or any, whatever the next flavor search engine is with more information to help them along. So she's got some really good pieces of information in there. AMP configuration, I have opinions on AMP. Others have opinions on AMP. I think it fits a certain type of site. I think AMP pages can fit very well in an e-commerce setting, in a news media setting. I question whether it has a place in other service type sites.
Agreed.
And then HTTPS, right? The ranking signals for having a secure site that discussion's been going on for, I feel, probably about 2 years now. We're in the process of developing our new site that will hopefully launch in the next month and a half or so, and that most certainly that was a big requirement of ours, is that it had to be not only HTTPS with a secure with an SSL certificate, but more so does it go HTTP2, which is kind of the I don't want to say future proof, but that's really next level.
It's a deeper level.
That's much more beyond, and there's some signals there that say it's not a ranking factor per se, but it's more data, probably more data gathering.
Right.
I thought that was really good. She has some really good pieces of information there on what to look for, and actually tools too. There's some really good action items in there. So I'm gonna stop talking there and go to Ashley on this next topic.
Well, we had a brief geek out session together before we started recording here about the new posts on Google. This is something that's been around since 2016, but it was only available to certain industry types back then, and it was just recently integrated with Google MyBusiness, so you can now manage it through your Google MyBusiness account. And it was recently announced just the other day that it's available to everyone with Google MyBusiness access. And so there's some great opportunities here to capture people's attention when they find you in search with these posts that will show up in a carousel under the knowledge or in the knowledge panel in the Google search interface. It offers the opportunity for like one-click call to action things like reserve a table maybe, or sign up or buy or get this offer. You can advertise an event that's going on with start and end times. You can upload an image. You can write up to 300 words in the post. And it's just a great opportunity for promotions, events, maybe new arrival, if you're a, e-commerce, that sort of thing. So I think a lot is going to be happening here.
I think it's the best use of Google Plus. I mean, really, when you look at it at its core, did somebody at Google finally say, "Oh, I've got it"?
I think it's almost a combination, or a byproduct, or a growth from a combination of Google Plus and Google authorship.
Right. True.
And it's a good way. Yeah, it's just they tested that, had a hard time getting rid of the Google Plus. They quickly realized the faults in Google authorship, and I think we'll probably see some refinements once we start talking about it and everyone's using it.
I do think that this has some staying power, though. So we did our first test post. So if you do a Google search for, and you should do a Google search for Black Truck Media, and if you get if you're nearby and you get the local map, the local pack, in the knowledge panel, you will see in there that we have a post in there that is our most recent blog post of a lesson in local search. So you'll see it. The call in there is how ignoring local SEO keeps great businesses secret. Quick tips on making your Google My Business listing more accurate. I couldn't think of anything more relevant to post for our first post.
Right.
So I thought that was great. But what we were really curious about was how quickly did that come up? So it's a lot. What's interesting, and I think probably by the time people actually are able to listen to this podcast, we'll have a full blog post and we'll make sure we link to it. But it renders a lot faster in mobile, which is that makes a lot of sense because I think the influence that maps and local search have on mobile, or that mobile has on local, right? That makes a lot of sense. But then also make sure you're not, I noticed that because I was logged in Chrome when I did the post, I couldn't get it to generate. But if I jumped over to Firefox where I wasn't, I was able to get it pretty quickly. So within about 2 minutes, it rendered, which I think is pretty darn snappy.
Yeah, that's great if you have any really timely announcements or events to post about.
And it's obviously dependent upon how frequently
Yeah.
the branding gets searched too.
So they allow you to have a photo in there. Minimum sizing for posts is 344 by 344, and there's definitely, I think there's some things to be taken advantage of there, is that while that's the minimum size, the kicker there is that you could have a larger image, like a larger background image, but if you have any kind of text or anything like that, like we did, you want that to fit in that 344 window, because you upload your image and then it goes to a next step, kind of like Instagram does with a crop, you know, but you're forced into cropping it into a square. So if you go into it with the mindset of 344 by 344 is my viewable, that's great. But to Ashley's point, the call to action there is awesome. We've had a couple people locally talk about, hey, we're going to use UTM tracking codes on this already. My take on that is no UTM tracking codes, and I want to see how it starts filtering data through.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm also anxious to see how companies like Moz with their Moz local product, or a Yext, or there's countless other products out there, how they are using that data, how we're able to see that data in reporting dashboards, because we know in Moz Local we're able to see what it was triggered by. Was it an image? Was it a search? Was it a map? Local pack, right? Just like in other reporting tools, are we able to see, was that a featured snippet that triggered that result, or was it an image, or was it a video, or just pure positioning and search? So I think if you're a local business, I think you should be getting on that. It doesn't have to be just offers and deals, although I think that is going to be a real hot ticket. I know we have a couple of our clients that are here locally that we could probably take advantage of that and track. If you're a national business, though, think about that. If somebody's vetting you, this is just another spot to distribute your content.
Yep.
Right?
We did it just before we started recording today. I didn't look that close. Was there a preview of the article at all in there? Or is it just the image?
It's the image, and then it's your short snippet, your description, and then you can select a button. It's learn more or offer or get deal, that type of prompt, and then you can you can preview what it's going to look like.
Yeah, you can set up to see what it looks like. Is that a surprise?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. But back to the other sidebar discussion that we had right before we started recording was, where does this fall in terms of your marketing, like your marketing role? Like, whose role is to do posts now, right? If local search, so the person who holds the key to Google My Business, if that's always been your SEO, well, now what?
Yeah.
Do we open this? Is this? What's your thought with more communications background, Ashley, on that?
Well, it also makes me think about monitoring and responding to reviews, and how that seems to be pretty underutilized by a lot of businesses that do have, a Google My Business account. So I'm just thinking, someone needs to be the Google administrator for your business, whether that is a marketing person or I don't know the exact answer, but that just made me think of how it seems like, and with our recent blog post, it just makes me think that there's more and more to be done with Google that can really make a big difference for your business, and it's worth investing, especially with the increase in mobile and local and everything.
Just the more our users become engaged, the more it's developed. It's almost like machine learning for people on the street running around moving it, because it's kind of geo derived with a lot of the My Business. It's people doing reviews and walking to it and being in the store.
Well, and the ultimate tracking, right? I mean, in AdWords or in analytics, it's the ultimate objective for small businesses to be able to track, if A, then B. So if I did this particular type of advertising or this social post or whatever, and we're tracking that, did it generate feet through my door? And that's all tracked because your phone is in your pocket. Your phone is on your person. I'm sure, I know I'm oversimplifying that, but that's really what the basis of it is on, right? That feature is not available to everyone right now. So while that's very much geared to small business, it's more beta tested to like the Home Depots of the world with, multi-million-dollar a year ad spends and, thousands of locations that I think that they're testing that on before they roll that out. So I think this all plays into factor. It's just another change in the local landscape.
Yeah, this morning you made a reference to me to check out. You got a referral for a lawnmower, small.
Oh yeah.
So I'm searching for a new lawnmower. I had an incident last night. Just to push.
Nobody lost a limb or anything. You say like I had an incident.
Yeah.
No, you had a mechanical failure.
Mechanical failure was the incident.
Thank you.
Yes.
No blood was shed for crying out loud.
All digits are still attached. Anyway, so after we were done texting this morning, I searched for that business. I found it via Google and Maps and whatnot. And they don't have a webpage in their listing, because I don't think they have a webpage because it's a small outfit. But they had like 35 reviews, Google reviews. So I started reading the reviews, and I instantly decided that I do not want to do business with them.
Oh, interesting.
Very, very unfortunate reviews, to the point where even the owner's wife was providing feedback, not like rebuttals to reviews, but putting her own reviews in to counter.
Like it's almost like it was a comment on a Facebook post almost, but it was in the form of a review.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think this could also be another interesting topic, and maybe we're gonna end right here. But I think that moving forward, look for a couple posts from us, blog content on Google Posts, and some more intricate details, and maybe some items that we've noticed as potential advantages already. And then the other one too is on the subject of local first is, can you dominate the local space, or can you dominate your local market without having a website?
And I was going to kind of start talking more about local if we had time. I'm just going to say one small little snippet in here a little bit. So Facebook is trying to get more into the local game. They're pushing hard, and I found an article, 7 changes by Facebook, pushing for local. And they're starting to utilize maps more, geolocation, and they made an example of the author did a search for Frisco lawyers, so attorneys in San Francisco, and he got back a diner in Denver, Dallas. He said
Perfect.
that search garnered one result in Dallas for an eatery. And so that was 18 months ago, and now there's 45 results when he does the same search, all with attorneys within a 4.5 mile radius. And that's all internal of Facebook. So they're really trying to push forward on that local side. And if you've got a good active Facebook page and not a very snappy standalone web page, yes, I think you can dominate the space.
Interesting.
Web page.
Let's continue that discussion. I think we could dedicate a whole podcast to more local SEO and stuff. But as a wrap up, check the show notes for not only our sources and the articles that we've covered, but certainly a link to a lesson in local search, our latest blog post as well. And until then, good luck. Have a great week.
Bye.
See ya.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.